Hey, welcome back to TML Weekly, Season 2, Episode 11. We got a special guest here beside me. Jack McWilliams is here to join the show in place of Nolan, who's probably in Vegas or Monte Carlo.
Hi, Roland again.
Yeah. Thanks to our sponsors, Bjorn and Don Cherry Sports Grill, as always. So, busy week. They got the 6 out of 8, so you and Nolan were right. Johnny, is that correct? Right? I had 8.
Nope.
I said
every dog has his day, right?
Oh, yeah. Blind squirrel gets a nut every now and then, right? Isn't that the old thing? But you know what? Some good things. They're doing what they have to do, right?
Yeah.
We'll talk here. Obviously, some news came out today. Stollers is going to get a minor procedure, 4 to 6 weeks. It's not the end of the world. It's December, right? If this happened the middle of March, we're in trouble. But it gives them time. Plus, when you come back, let's say worst case scenario, end of January, he's ready. You may not even have to rush him in because you got the break for the Four Nations coming up, so they're going to get 10 days there. So Hildeby's got to come in. Matt Murray's hurt as usual. We talked about that last week. But Hildeby a little shaky early, but he looked pretty solid. Yeah, he did what he had to do, and the team defense is gonna make the goaltending less important as they continue to tighten it up. What are your thoughts on the goalie situation?
Well, I'm going to start with I'm going to start negative. I have I know, shock, but I feel at a certain point with this management group and their philosophy on talking about injuries and what it is and what's going on. This started off as a day-to-day thing. We weren't concerned. They came out.
All do, right? You don't know.
Yeah, but you know what, John? If this was the first time, I'm okay with it. If it's the first time and we swerve on it. I mean, Austin Matthews is in Germany and we still don't know what's wrong, right? So I just, I have a tough time. I have a tough time with that in this management group and trusting, whether or not it is 4 to 6 weeks, because they say it is 4 to 6 weeks. I don't have a lot of faith in that. Stollers.
What management group do you trust?
Not the one that's here.
They all do it. You come out and you gotta err on the side of caution when a guy gets hurt, right? Even though you may think it's bad.
But erring on the side of caution is not telling everybody that he's day to day, and then 4 days later he's out six weeks. That's not erring on the side of caution. Erring on the side of caution would be coming out in the beginning and saying, "Listen, it's probably going to be 4 to 6 weeks." That's erring on the side of caution.
Yeah, but in the grand scheme of things, they don't give a shit what you or I or anybody else.
I agree, but I'm just saying, as a fan who's expected to listen to the team and what kind of comes out, it's hard to take what they say seriously. And that's the only point I'm making.
Yeah, but it's not just them; it's the whole.
Yeah, no, fair enough. It was interesting though. I had a conversation with the bride about this, and because I was a little lit the other night watching the game. And she was like, "John, you got to relax," which is a common phrase in our house.
Yeah.
But yeah, fair enough.
Like your wife deserves the Order of Canada, man.
Yeah, I mean she's a good soldier, let me tell you. Yeah. But what she was saying was, you can't disclose injuries, and I thought, you know what, the NHL does things so differently from other leagues, especially with gambling and all that's coming in now. This whole upper body, lower body, might play, not play. The NHL doesn't really do a very good job of that with gamblers. Not that I'm a gambler, believe me, I'm not. But I just think it's something interesting to think of as we go on here. I mean, complete aside to what we're talking about now. But with regards to the goalies, I'll be honest with you. I'm apprehensive on where we are only because Joseph Woll, as much as I like him, and if you've listened to this show or any other ones that we've been on, you know that I'm a Joseph Woll fan right from the get-go. But he's made of glass, and it's, this is now Stolarz has come in and he's been the best goalie in the league. And, now there's quote unquote a pebble in his knee. This is a guy who's had a couple knee surgeries already. Now we've got a pebble in there. We've got another goalie who's a 1A who's made of glass. Listen, I'm apprehensively okay with where we are. I think more so than anything, what is going to save us is going to be the way and the style of Craig Berube. We're winning games right now when we're not playing our best. If we're going to be completely honest about the way the Maple Leafs have looked in the last 7 to 10 games, it's not been stellar. Like it has not been.
It's defensively much better though.
Don't misunderstand the point, John. And that's what I was giving. I was giving credence.
That's why they're getting there. We get the results. Yeah.
I was giving credence to the Berube style, right? We're winning these are games before that we weren't winning, where we were playing okay, but we were coming up short. This is now a defensive, organized system. When we don't have our best, I think I brought this up last week. We're not panicking. There's not a DEFCON 7 switch that we seem to fall into. My only hope here is that Hildeby comes up and can spell Wall. And, for Christmas, my only wish.
I don't think you have many back-to-backs before the Olympics. Maybe 2.
Well, no, I mean, we got 4 and 6 coming up this week. 4 games and 6 nights this week.
So you'll need them there.
Right. So
here's a question, though.
Yeah.
And I'm going to revert back to, your admiration for Coach Keefe. If Sheldon Keefe had
trying to get my heart going.
If Sheldon Keefe had played Stolarz there back to back after that big heavy night where he was unreal and stole that game. If he had gone back to him, you would be ready to crucify Sheldon Keefe right now. And you've not said a word about, did he get injured? Did he aggravate something because he's tired, man? It's he had a real busy night. Was it the night before, 2 nights, whatever. They've gone through a rotation where it's Stoley and Wool, and then all of a sudden he leaves that.
The answer to that question is, if you're going to be a number 1 goalie and you can't go back to back, you're not number 1 goalie.
To be able to do it, I get that, but
they're just for clarity purposes, I just, because I think it's interesting that we're gonna say I would have been critical of him for not playing him or for playing him back to back. I believe it was last year around Christmas time when Wall was on an absolute redonkulous heater, and he had been like, 2 goals in 6 games and was playing lights out, and we were on game 6 of a road, like it was all on the road, and I think we were on the West Coast, and he put in Samsonov. And I lost my mind because I said, these are easy points against a bad team. You ride a hot goalie, right? We had the Christmas break coming up. There was no reason to put him in. And I lost my shit on that. Pardon my language, Jack. Sorry about that, buddy. But I lost my you-know-what on that because it's a decision that doesn't make sense. I don't have a problem with playing a goalie who's playing out of his mind back-to-back. I don't have a problem with that. In fact, I would suggest to you, that's the right play. That's the right move.
Yeah, but did it was a contributing factor to the injury?
I mean, if it, like, again though, Johnny, that's my whole thing though. If you're going to tell me that you can't play back-to-back games as an NHL goalie, we got bigger problems. We do, right? The
game is different than it was when Grant Fuhr was playing 79 games and in St. Louis. And
I don't know, man. UC Soros plays 68 games every year.
Yeah, how many cups does he have?
Let's blame UC Soros for not winning the cup. That's a fair.
What was the commercial? He's in a commercial and no goal. What is your goal for? Well, he goes no goals. It's a pretty funny commercial. Right. Anyway, but there's a reason why they don't go back to back in the playoffs anymore. Okay, and they used to. and they used to. And the Players Association came in and said, you don't run a 2-goalie system in the middle of the playoffs, right? You're going with your hot guy.
Yeah.
And the Players Association had something to do with them now. They need that recovery time is what it is, especially at the goaltender position. You get into an overtime or double overtime game in the playoffs, right? And you got to go the next night.
Here's the counter argument to this. It was funny. It's funny that you bring this up with recovery time and rest time and all that kind of good jazz. I keep hearing the argument that today's players are bigger, faster, stronger, better nutrition. And therefore, if you compare them against players of the 70s, 80s, and 90s, by virtue of bigger, stronger, faster, better recovery, better technology, all this good stuff, they would smash those teams. And yet I look at players today, and you look at the NBA. You got guys that are on load management. You got guys that can only play 35 or 40 games. I don't know. I feel like it's a counterproductive argument. On one hand, we're sitting here singing the praises of these guys for being bigger, faster, stronger.
When you're faster, you're getting hit harder. When a goalie is the size that they are now, which they weren't, Darren Pang was a decent goalie in the National Hockey League.
Are we going to call Darren Pang, even in the mid 80s? Are we going to call Darren Pang the norm for the size of a goalie?
No. I just said
that's what I'm saying, right? So, the point I'm trying to make here is that you can't have it both ways. You can't be bigger, faster, stronger, have better nutrition, have better weight training, have better recovery time, have better technology.
So why wouldn't they go back to back in the playoffs anymore?
Sorry?
Why wouldn't they do back-to-backs in the playoffs?
I think you hit the nail on the head. It's
game 1 and 2 back-to-back nights, travel day 3, game 4 and 3 and 4. Like, you'd be done a playoff series in a week.
That's right. Players Association.
You're done early June.
Yeah. So, and that's now why we're into the end of the.
When you're bigger and faster, you're getting hit harder. You're getting hit more. There's more impact. The point is, they're looking after the players' long-term health. Okay, that wasn't happening in the 50s and the 60s. They didn't give
now I can get behind that.
Yeah. So they play them 4 nights in a row if they had to. Goalies were playing 79, 80 games. Like you had a backup goalie. The year that Fierzy played 79 and out of 82 in St. Louis. If that backup goalie just stood there, it didn't like, oh yeah, you got a new deal. Come back to
practice goalie.
3 games, right? Perfect. But it's just a different mindset and the protection of the players, the protection of the head injuries and things like that are very important as well.
So
who do we have coming up?
Dallas. We got Dallas. We got Winnipeg. Hold on. Just let me pull this up here. I got it on the computer. We got Dallas.
Yeah.
And Buffalo, the Islanders, Winnipeg.
Ooh.
Before Christmas. So listen, I have a question for Jack. Jack, our good friend Max Domi has had a very, very rough start to the season. He got a goal the other night playing with Bobby McMatthews and your dad's favorite, Nick Robertson. Would you like to see that line stay together? Or what do you think is the best option for Max Domi?
I think he could play with Marner and Matthews.
You like him there, do you? Yeah, he's had some success there, for sure. Good point there, Jack. They showcase. I said this last week. Go back and watch our show last week. I said, you know what? You got to get Nick Robertson into the lineup against a shitty team and play the shit out of him and let him shine and up the value that you're going to get. He's not part of this guy's plan.
Right.
So I think, something, again, I say it every week, but I think that they're going to target like a a 3 center. And there's guys that, you hear the Ryan O'Reillys and the Nazem Kadris and those kind of names are always going to be around. But Nicholas Robertson's not going to be here, right? If he left the trade line, I'd be shocked. But if they could bolster that top 9/bottom 6, and there's so much, I want to talk about Mitch Marner here now. So report today, he turned down the latest offer. No details on the offer. He's a top 5 right now in the NHL. He's a top 5, 7 player in the National Hockey League. 10 at worst.
If we're going to be honest, and listen, let's be honest. And I have been beyond critical of Mitch Marner at times. Yeah. But if we're going to be honest, forget a top 7 player in the league. Mitch Marner's been a top 3 player in this league.
Yeah, he's in the Hart Trophy.
Like legitimately, like if we're going to give somebody their flat, like I have no problem calling somebody out when they're not playing well. But my God, this version of Mitch Marner this year, this is the best version of Mitch Marner we've seen through 20 plus games.
Yeah, I think he got humbled a little bit with the talk of him being moved and waiving no trade clauses, blah blah. They're going to move him before the deadline. He wants to be a Leaf. Okay, we know that. If he didn't want to be a Leaf,
hold on. No, let's be clear though. How sure are we that Mitch Marner wants to be a Leaf? Because I've heard various
positive. Because he would have waived. He would have waived this summer and gone to Utah or one of the.
Maybe he just didn't want to go to Utah.
Well, there was probably 15 teams asking about it. He's that type. The Toronto Maple Leafs, if they don't figure out how to get this done, and I know what the number is. I know what the number is. It's
What's
the exact number that Matthews has. Right? If you went to Mitch Marner's camp today and said, we're going to sign you 8 for the same number as 34 or 4, right? Austin's got 4, right? We're going to give you 4 at that number. You guys are going to make the same. Matthews will have absolutely no issue with it. If you go north of that number, I think you're making a mistake. And I think, but having said that, if he gets to July, he's getting probably 15. Okay. Somebody's going to pay Mitchell Marner a lot of money to sign him for a long-term deal because he's.
Do you think so? So listen, it's such a conundrum, right? Because it is impossible to separate regular season Mitch and playoff Mitch. It's impossible to separate them. And even the world's biggest Mitch Marner fan has to acknowledge there's a fundamental difference between the two players. And I'll never forget.
I thought it was the coaching that they couldn't get over the hump.
Well, listen, that didn't help. But I will say this. I watched last year. The Ray Ferraro was between the benches on the U.S. feed in the second period of that game 7. And listen, Ray Ferraro's a guy who he's played in the league. He's well tuned in and knows his stuff. And he said one of two things. Mitch Marner's either really, really injured or not interested.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you. When they came out at the end of the season and there wasn't, he's got to go for surgery. He's got to get this taken care of. He's got to get that. That has really, and I'm not going to lie to you, that's really stuck with me. I respect Ray Ferraro, and I think he's a well-respected player and analyst in the league. And so I look at Mitch Marner and listen, Mitch Marner, again, top 3 player. I have no problem acknowledging that. He has been all world.
Would you lock him in for, say, 5 years at Matthews money right now?
Would I like doing it? No. Would I do it? Yes.
Yeah, I think you have
to. But listen, but here's why I would do it. Here's why I would do it. I would do it because you have to find a way to make it work. That's on the coaching staff. That's on management to fit. He is such an elite talent. you've got to find a way to bring November, December Mitch Marner into June, July Mitch Marner. Like that, like he is. If we let Mitch Marner go, and listen, if you talked to me after last year's playoffs, I was ready to hang him. But you're never going to get value back on a deal. If you let Mitch Marner walk, how do you replace that points? I just feel like there's got to be there is a solution out there. When you have great elite talent, you've got to find a way to make it work.
Well, and Colorado and Mikko Rantanen are in the same wheelhouse right now as Toronto and Mitch. And if those two guys both go to free agency, you're going to see record-breaking numbers because the cap is going up. You've got a lot of teams that are looking for that guy. Mitchell Marner and Mikko Rantanen have played second fiddle, or in Mikko's case, third fiddle. To he's not even the top two player on his team, right? And there's been times where Marner, Nylander's been just an absolute horse as well. JT's playing really well. Mitch stepped up. You've got that dynamic, and sometimes an ego will get in. Hey, I want to be the guy. I want to go. Maybe I'll go to a smaller market and be that guy.
And so, listen, let's. But before we get too far off, and when we start talking about egos, at a certain point, when we're talking about Mitch Marner, do we have to talk about the influence of the old man? Because I think John. Listen, if you watch that, do you remember when the Leafs were with the Islanders last year and Tavares' dad scored that 1,000-point?
Yeah.
And you remember the reaction of his old man watching that sit next to Tavares?
Yeah.
That did not go over well. And I can't imagine that, Mitch Marner and the team were thrilled with the
Mitch Marner's a grown man. Mitch Marner's a grown man. And I know there's stuff about Paul Marner that's documented. So whatever. Mitch Marner's a grown man. Mitch Marner has an agent that's a very good agent. And
what's his name? It's what's his name? Who's his agent?
Darren Ferris.
Darren Ferris, yeah.
Anyway, I'm not gonna. No,
like that. But that's part of the. Like, I wonder if that's going to play into it, though, right?
If the agent's any good, and the dad, or family members creating noise that may, and I think that happened with Nylander and his.
Well, think about it. You haven't seen Marner's dad anywhere since that dad trip.
The agent's going to turn around and say, "Hey, enough. You know what? You want me to represent your kid? You beat it. You don't talk to the media. You don't tweet, that kind of thing." And and in fairness, Mitchell needs to do that too, right? Hey, Dad, I'm almost 30.
Yeah,
you don't need to protect.
Yeah, you don't need to fight the battle.
I see that as an absolute non-factor. To wrap this one up, I think Mitch Marner wants to be a Toronto Maple Leaf. I think he's showing. I think he's swallowed a lot of pride coming into this season because half the fan base was running him out of town. Oh, all these trade scenarios. He's going here. He's going there. Pittsburgh for Crosby. Blah 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 blah. Right.
Hold on. Great. Here's a great question.
Crosby goes down and he carries these guys and they're first in the Atlantic. They haven't been first in the Atlantic at Christmas in years.
Right? Crosby for Marner, would you do it straight up?
You know what? If you had asked me a month ago, I would have said, yeah, done. Do it. Sign me up. Right now, I don't think I do. I really don't. Especially if I was going to move a guy like Mitchell Marner. So if they get to the point and Toronto has to
they can't sign him. I agree. Yeah.
You get into the deadline time and they haven't, and they offer him Matthews money and he doesn't take it. And he may not, because if he gets onto that open market, and you know how much tampering is going on right now, his agent probably knows what Utah, San Jose, Nashville, watch them. Watch Barry Trotz. If this kid, he goes in.
I mean, Nashville's got bigger problems right now.
I get it, but anybody is going to want to take a top player. Anybody is going to, and they're going to throw the Brinks truck at him, right? So you got to figure out a way to lock him. I think it's Matthews' money. I would be very, very cautious to go higher unless unless he locks in for 8. So they can lock him for 8. Anybody else can only get him 7. So if they come to me right now, and what's Matthews, 13.25?
13 a quarter, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So if they came in right now and said, look, we want 14, and they say this to Tree.
But 14 at 8? Not 14 at 4.
No, 8.
Yeah, 14 at 8. Okay.
Yeah. So we're gonna do 14 and we're gonna do 8 and lock him in, and you're a Leaf for life. Right.
Okay, so here's the question.
Because year 5, 6, 7, and 8 on that deal are gonna be a bargain. Because guys are gonna be making 20.
No, but here's the real question that I think Leaf fans need to acknowledge. If the number is, let's call it 13 at the low end, right?
Yeah, it is.
Let's call it 13 and you're getting a bargain. And let's call it 14 and a half on the high end. Okay. Here's the question that really needs to be asked. We're talking about $1.5 million a year on the cap. What are we talking about? We're talking about Pontus Holmberg money.
Yeah.
So like really, and that's what I think people need. And again, I think we've been so ingrained into a flat cap where everybody's dollar, we're penny pinching, and Tavares's number is just bizarre because
AT's money's gone after this.
No, but what I'm saying is, so I think we need to reevaluate how we look at structure on contracts.
Yeah.
In that, what for the last 4 years, in a flat cap where Tavares is making $11 million, it's insanity.
Yeah.
But again, if you're talking about the difference of having Mitch Marner versus not having Mitch Marner for $1.5 million, what are we talking about?
Yeah, and you better get him out west because
but you understand the point I'm saying though, right? Like what's the point then? Like, would you rather not have Mitch Marner but have Pontus Holmberg and Nick Robertson? Like you know what I mean? I can't get there with that.
That's
when you have elite talent,
they gotta lock this guy up, and they gotta do it soon. You don't want to, because then you're risking. What do you do at the deadline, right? Like you look at Johnny Gaudreau, right? Calgary plays him, and they roll the dice, and he ends up in Columbus, and that that was his decision, and he wanted to be closer to his family. Mitch Marner, Mikko Rantanen could do the same thing. They could say, yeah, well, you know what? Let's talk about it at the end of the season. And you're like, oh, okay. And then you go through the playoffs, and, whether you succeed or not, whether you succeed or not actually could give Mitch Marner's camp a bigger stick, right? So they could look at, hey,
if you succeed.
Yeah, you succeed. He's going to say, hey, I'm a cup winner now. That's a 10% tax right there on what you're offering me. I have a cup ring. These guys have consistently been overpaid. Jack, you want to talk about Nylander and how he's been? What do you think of his game this year? Good.
Yeah.
So Jack, let me ask you this: in the third period against Buffalo last week, the head coach, who I really like, he switched and put Marner and Matthews with Nylander, and they look great. They moved Pacioretty and Tavares and who's on the Nice down to the second line. What do you think? Like, can you see Matthews, Marner, and Tavares on a top line for the rest of the year? Like, would they get like 1 billion points?
Yeah, but the team.
The other ones might not have as much help as they did before.
Yeah, so the other lines, he bang on, Jack. You're bang on. And that's great. I like it in a game that you need a goal, and if you can get these guys some time together other than the power play 5-on-5, and you have the luxury in a blowout game either way, I love it. I love the tactic, because you put that kind of skill out on the ice, and if they're zipping it around, I mean, you may have 3 of the top 10 skilled forwards in the world on the ice together on one team. Like, that's unheard of. That's you haven't seen that since the 80s Oilers or the 70s Canadiens. You haven't had that.
Well, they're all going to be first-line players at that Four Nation.
Yes, absolutely they are. Right? So you look at, to win and sustain and go through a play, you spread it out. Right? But if in your top six, Nyes has emerged, he's not going to be a top 5-10 player in the NHL, but maybe a top 20. He's a power forward. He's heavy. He gets pucks deep. He gets on them. He creates turnovers.
He could be a Bertuzzi type guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm not talking about Todd. I'm talking about Nick.
Yeah. No, he can play. Right. So then, and JT seems like he's lost 5-6 years. Right. I was ready to send him out to pasture at the beginning of the year, and he stepped up and taken over games. And Pacioretty, I love the grit that he's showing. I love the swagger.
If he can stay healthy,
you know what? Even if he
can stay healthy, that's the only concern you have with Pacioretty, right?
They love him in the room. He's a real good calming influence. He's been a captain in a tough market in Montreal. He's had a long career. He's understanding what his role is. His role isn't what it's always been. He's there for his leadership. He's a big, heavy player. So, throw the body around. I'm sure the Chief got
and listen, I give full, and listen, another guy who I've been incredibly critical of in his time here recently, especially, is 91. But 91 under Berube looks like a different player. He just looks like a different guy.
Well, he's skating straight lines, so Berube's system is different than, when you get into the more you're kind of it's less taxing on, let's say, an older player. So a guy like Pacioretty and a guy like Tavares, right? And maybe another wily old vet that they bring in to complement this top 9/bottom 6, that third line role, is more conducive. So, you wish that the Thorntons and the Marlows and the guys that they brought in over the years were more ingrained in because it's straight lines, right? It's no different than football in a way, right? A really good defensive team. They're not all over the place and scrambling and doing this and doing that because they put themselves in the position from the get-go, right?
Positioning. Yeah.
You keep your body and you keep your position on the right side of the puck, and they're doing that, and then you don't get as tired, right? It doesn't mean that it's not a heavy game anymore, and you don't skate as much because you do, but you're taking less effort to do more, I guess, right?
Which helps.
Yeah, you're playing your position. You're playing,
Listen, here's something I wanted to bring up tonight because let's get away from the Leafs just for a second here. I want to talk a little bit about guys who are playing their position and know their roles. Let's talk about Vancouver. If you're watching us in Vancouver right now, listen, we got as many questions as you guys do for Johnny. What are your thoughts on JT Miller and?
Well, you know what? You hear
what's going on out there.
You hear that these guys, the rumors, and his wife deletes her Instagram or shuts it down, and the rumors that are out there, right? Oh, this is gonna.
It is what it is.
I'm hearing more deeper though that there's so JT Miller and if you've watched me for a while, when they traded Bo Horvat, I went on record to say you just got rid of the wrong guy, right? JT Miller is, and he's been called a cancer in the dressing room. He's not a team guy. He's a me guy, very egotistical. This is what I heard. So that was my thoughts. It's like, why would you move Bo, real good stand-up guy, good teammate, great leader, for this guy?
Now, to be fair to Miller, though, hell of a hockey player.
Yeah. JT Miller can play hockey.
Hell of a hockey player.
Heavy, good hands, does it all.
Yep.
He's a top player. But at what expense to your team? So now that he's back, he's not JT Miller needed to. I think he owed it to the fan base to say where he was and what's going on. Nothing. Not going to comment on that. Don't ask me about that. Okay, well, that's a strike to me. Sometimes when you're going through something, whether it's personal, whether it's could be mental health issue, we don't know. The vulnerability that you can show can gain you
some favor.
The fan base to kind of be on your side. They were fantastic. They were shouting his name in his first game back the other night. But now reports are coming out that Elias Pettersson and JT were in some sort of a skirmish at practice not long before JT went on a little bit of a leave. And now I'm hearing very serious, just from some sources, that Vancouver's looking to move Elias Pettersson. So it makes me wonder, is there a power struggle within that room where both of those guys want to be that guy, and neither one of them likes, the personality conflict, whatever. And every team that I've ever been a part of, there's personality conflicts. Every workplace that you're ever a part of, there's personality conflict. But professionals and teams and organizations that succeed, they put that stuff aside. You don't have to like everybody you play with. You don't have to go for dinner every night with guys. But you got to be on the ice, and you got to be brothers, and you got to have the guy's back, and you got to know that he has your back. You got to know that you're going on the ice into a battle, and everybody that's part of that group is going to do whatever they have to do to support each other. I don't think that's the feeling, and that must be driving Talk crazy. Rick Tocchet, he's a
Rick Tocchet is a team guy of a team guy of a team guy.
Score 50 goals, fight 30 times, right? That was Rick Tocchet. He did whatever it took. So is it? I think it might. I'm not saying that the organization's blaming Pettersson, and I don't think they're blaming JT Miller either. But I think that they think that the best thing is to separate these two. That's where I am. But if you really think about it, right? If these guys are having a pissing contest and trying to, I want to be the guy. Quinn Hughes is the guy. Quinn Hughes is the guy in Vancouver. And so you two, if you were smart, this young man's 24 years old.
Yeah, but that's not, Johnny, as well as I do, that's not how egos work.
I know, but
that's not how egos work.
Yeah,
and here's the reality. Pettersson signed that big deal, and Pettersson has not looked like the player that got that big deal.
You know when he started looking like the player that got that big deal? When JT Miller went on his leave. Look at the games that JT Miller didn't play.
So then you have to decide as an organization, I got to pick a guy.
And I think they want JT. They know JT's upside as a hockey player is better than, Elias Pettersson may put up the same amount of points as JT Miller year after year if they both are healthy. JT Miller brings a lot more to the table from a physicality standpoint, from a, greasy, I'm going to spear you in the throat to get the puck in the corner.
I like that.
Yeah. I mean, that's how you win, right? Let's face it.
Listen, JT Miller is a Grapes guy through and through, right? Like that's a guy that Grapes would always want on his team. So I tend to
stay tuned on the van. My daughter was Robin was at the Colorado game last night. I had really good seats at Colorado, Vancouver beat them.
Oh, nice.
So she was she texted me some pictures. Nice little seats for her. What else do I got here? I wanted to. I'll lead back into the Minton thing after this, and then we'll do our predictions and wrap up. We're a little long.
Sounds good.
I want to talk briefly. So I've been traveling a little bit, so I haven't really, I put in my predictions for the Four Nations Cup.
Oh, geez, we're gonna get to Four Nations.
Yeah, so I put in my
fired up, Johnny. You were fired up.
I think I was on a plane when the teams were released, or I was at an airport or something, and I looked at them, scanned through, and then looked at the comments of who's missing, and and I didn't really dissect it until a couple days ago, and one thing popped out at me that's very concerning. and that's the goaltending position. I'm okay with Binnington and Hill. They won cups, right? They won cups.
I agree. Yep.
They, you know what? They've earned it.
But before I let you run, before I let you run,
this is a good way to test a couple guys to see if they're ready for the big stage in next year, right? So those two, totally fine with. The one that I have a big problem with is Samuel Montembeault. Okay, I don't know, and you know, if anybody can send us a message or tweet us or whatever it is they do now to talk to us, right? But I dissected. I went through the roster. Okay, this is a token Quebecois pick. It has to be. There's no other way. So you go through the Team Canada roster, and I want you to see if you can find out, or any listeners, if you want to, you like to do the research. I'd like to know when the last time there was a best on best, and it really only started in 72. Okay. So in 72, 76 Canada Cups, 81 Canada Cup, 84 Canada Cup, 91 Canada Cup, right? And then you're in the Olympics in 98, you know, 02, 4, or 6 and 10 and 14, right? There's never been, and I'm going to say this, and I haven't even looked back, there's never been a team without any Quebecois. Most of them had multiple, right? If you go back into the, you know,
and not just multiple, John, elite.
Yeah. The Guy Lafleurs of the world, and the
Mario
Lemieux, the Patrick Waz, the Martin Brodeur, the Roberto Luongo. Okay.
Loaded.
Okay. Go through the roster. There's three players that played, that are on this Canada team that came out of the QMJHL. And they're all from here. Nova Scotia. Right? They're not Quebecois. Sidney Crosby, Nathan McKinnon, and Brad Marchand. Yeah, they all played in the Q.
Yep.
But they're Anglophone Nova Scotians, Maritimers. Right? So without Samuel Montembeault on this hockey club, they don't have a Quebecois on a Team Canada. So you can read into that whatever way you want. Is, you know, what's going on with, you know, the development model in Quebec? I don't know. I'm seeing some young talent come up. You know, as you know, I'm involved in this kind of stuff, and I know who's coming up. They've got some real nice young players coming through the system. But you know, Alexis Lafreniere would have been the closest to make this team, and I think he might have been he was in the discussion. He may very well be at the Olympics next year.
But let's be honest. Are you going to tell me that there's a significant difference between Lafreniere and Seth Jarvis?
Yeah,
like I don't know. Like I feel like if we're concerned about, you know, having a French player on the team, and you like Lafreniere, but you really like Seth Jarvis, I mean, I don't know. Okay, sure. I don't think Seth Jarvis is going to see a lot of ice time.
No. But I don't have Samuel Montembeault in my top 8 of Canadian goaltenders. I've got Marc-Andre Fleury. If he's the third guy,
I had Thompson as my third. I had Thompson.
Fleury. Yeah, Thompson should be there.
I had Thompson and I'll be honest with you, with the way I've seen Thompson, I've watched a little bit of Washington just because of, you know, the Ovechkin watch and everything that's been going on. And listen, he's looked lights out so far. There was a part of the beginning of the season where it was him and him and what's the goalie from Winnipeg? Name escaping me. Hellebuck. It was him and Hellebuck every night making 10 bell saves, and both teams were off to ridiculous starts. Yep. So to me,
I think it's a token thing. It's got to be like I've got the kid in Utah from my wife's hometown ahead of him, right? Connor Ingram.
Dude, you could even make an argument for Talbot to be a third guy.
100% you could.
Like,
you know, especially in this tournament, it's a short little tournament.
Yeah, but so let's. Here's a great question, and here's something that's interesting. If we were going to go with a French guy, and we were going to say the reason Montembeault is there is because he's a French guy, Is Fleury not the guy that you want instead there? Like, just by virtue of
that was on my prediction. I said, yes. If you got, it's a 4-game tournament. We're not talking about the World Championships or the Olympics where you're playing every day for
8 or 12 games, and you got to have a. No, I agree.
4 games, or 4, maybe 5 in 10 days. You know, so you're playing every second day, right? Whoever gets hot's going to run. Fleury goes in there as the third guy. He's the best dressing room guy. If you talk to anybody that's played with him,
he's loved everywhere. I agree. Yep.
You know, keeps the room loose, a little bit of a joker, old school, but very likable. So there's your guy. I just don't get it. I don't get it. I think I don't know. That was my original. I said, you know what? They felt like they had to. But you made a good point. Like, why not Lafreniere over Seth Jarvis? I don't know of any other French Canadian.
That would have been close. No, that would have been close. I don't think so. Now here's an interesting question. And listen, I've had some hot debates on this one. If you are the Americans, do you start Ottinger or do you start Hellebuck?
I think you give them each a game. I'm a big believer when you get all that kind of talent. I think you know. I think you give them each. You go in and you say, hey, you know what? You're going to go game 1 and you're going to go game 2 no matter what happens. And then we're going to make a decision for game 3. That's how I do it.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you my thought based on what I've seen. And here's what I've seen. I've seen Jake Ottinger in big pressure moments be lights out on a regular basis, stealing games, stealing series in the playoffs, and looking redonkulous. And I've seen Connor Hellebuck, when the heat gets turned up, look terrified and not be the guy that he was when the pressure wasn't on. So for me, it's an easy decision. I'm taking Ottinger all day long.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, it's, you know,
I'm just saying that's my opinion. That's what I think.
A lot of variables why Winnipeg hasn't had the success, and I don't think Hellebuck's one of them. But you know, I think if they had a better group around him, you know, we'll see.
So
but you also have to be cognizant too of the player. I think you're going to see a little bit more of it in a short tournament like this. You're going to see a little bit more, just based on what we talked about earlier. You're going to see more tandem than just one guy's going to roll. Because short tournament, you know, these guys have all these guys. So if you look at, you know, Winnipeg, Dallas, who's the other goalie? Boston, Swayman.
Hold on, give me a second.
I think it's Swayman. It's got to be Swayman.
I think it is Swayman. Yeah, it is Swayman.
You know, and I expect.
I mean, you can't go wrong with Jeremy Swayman either.
Right. So I expect Boston to be, you know, pushing for a playoff spot coming out of that. Right. They're you know, they're right there right now in the wild card mix. But so this isn't the Olympics, right? And this is going to be, there's going to be some backdoor deals going on between general managers that, you know, I think the Dallas guy is part of the leadership group too.
Yes, he is.
So you're going to say, hey, roll with my guy. Play him 4 games and 7 nights.
But it's interesting, though. It's interesting that Jason Robertson did not make that team with him in charge.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. He's not in charge.
It's but wait, listen. When you're sitting at the table, your guys get a little bit of an extra push.
Yeah.
Right?
No, oh, well, they should, but you
know, hope. So now,
but it's the same. You know, are you taking Jason Robertson over Bedard? Hey, what is?
I'm probably. You know what though? I'll be honest with you. I'm taking him over Chris Kreider.
But Jason Robertson's American, so that's even.
Yeah, no, but that's what I'm saying. Like I'm saying, like on the American team, I take him over Chris Kreider. And listen, let's talk about the Rangers. What the hell's going on in New York? I heard this week that they had a team meeting, to address how they were going to handle the general manager. There is some bad news going on with that team in New York right now.
They're imploding.
The GM's trying to trade Mika. He wants Mika Zibanejad out, wants Kreider out. They just got rid of.
You're going to see a big, you know, Dolan's pretty hands-on. You know, and not hands-on where he's telling the general manager what to do, but he'll be, you know, I think he trusts Drury. I think they have a good relationship.
But here's the thing, though. I don't think the players trust Drury. That's the problem.
Doesn't matter if they trust him.
I don't know, man.
They better play or they're going to be gone, right? If the owner trusts him, he's not going anywhere. So if the owner says, hey, you know what? What do you think you got to do? And he trades Zibanejad and Kreider and, you know, this guy and that guy and the other. They benched Kako the other night, and Kako went on record saying he was the number 2 overall pick. He went on record saying, I'm not even the worst guy out there, and I'm scratched.
Well, what he said directly
that's
was
against the coach, not the manager.
Hey, listen, it's really easy to bench a young player. It's really easy to blame it all on a young player. So listen, New York's a disaster, and there's another team in Western New York who is an equal disaster. They're playing in Montreal tonight for the battle of last place. And listen, I don't know what the issue is in Buffalo. But as a Bills fan and as a diehard Bills fan, that city, I feel like, has been cursed for years, whether it's been wide right, whether it's been the skate in the crease, whether it's been pick your thing with Buffalo, man. They can just not get it right. That Buffalo team looks absolutely lost with no direction. And I don't have the answer because
there's no answer. You know what? It's players. They've rebooted. They got how many top picks in that lineup, and then they get top picks,
and then they go look at Eichel,
and then they go win cups. Eichel, O'Reilly. There's
yeah.
3 of them that were top picks on that team. As soon as they could get out, they get out, and then they go win cup somewhere else. So
it's amazing.
You know, it makes me lean back. I mean, Kevin Adams has been around, but there's been guys before him that keep doing the same thing over and over. I think sometimes Pegula is maybe a little bit too trusting of his team, and maybe is you know.
I think Pegula's. I think what's evident is Pegula's a football guy.
You know, there's general managers out there that will get results if they're given, you know, the keys. I'm not sure anybody's ever had the keys in Buffalo, I guess. Is that
you think so, eh?
Yeah. I think there's I think and you're right, he's a football guy, but I think he's a hands-on, which is great. It's his money, it's his product. I get it. But I don't think he knows the game well enough maybe to understand that Kevin Adams was a good bottom 6 hockey player in the NHL. But you don't just become a general manager. You need to be an assistant general manager in a winning organization for a long time.
Hashtag Haley Wickenheiser.
You have to scout. You have to get on the road. You have to be in player development. You have to understand, you know, the path of these kids that's different than when you played, right?
So but before we get to predictions, I want to get your opinion because I had a lot of trouble with this week, and I'm not going to lie. Fraser Minton is going down to the Marlies.
Yeah,
and I don't feel good about it.
I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I'm not.
He's not going to play when guys are coming back and they're healthy. He's not going to play enough for a kid his age to develop. He's waiver exempt. Okay, they don't have to make some sort of a
no. I get the economics. Don't misunderstand the point. I get the economics.
On paper, Fraser Minton's with Toronto Marlboros or Marlies now, I guess they're called.
Whatever, call them whatever.
He's still with the big boys, right? If they have a game, he'll go play. He'll practice with them, but he's still around the guys. It's totally fine. I think that's great for his development, and I love the fact that teams now have that option. They don't have to send him to St. John's, Newfoundland, or Newmarket, or wherever the
Newmarket Saints.
Yeah, St. Catharines, Saints. They had down there as well. We got a question here from Madison McWilliams. My daughter.
She's a tough questioner.
Actually, it's Reese, so that's her boyfriend, and I got a bone to pick with Reese because he's ahead of me in the hockey pool right now, and I get close to him and then he pulls away.
Johnny, I want to stay out of the family dynamic.
He hasn't caught Jack yet, though. Anyway, Reese is asking, will the Leafs pick up on someone decent as their third line center? Rewind the show. We talked about that earlier. I think the answer is yes. They're looking at, the two names that keep coming up are Nazem Kadri and Ryan O'Reilly. So two former Leafs.
And so I
think either would be a great fit.
John, I'm going to tell you, we already have our third line center. He's playing second line center for us right now.
Yeah. So one of those guys moves him down, whatever, top 9 center. Right.
Yeah.
But a good question, Reese. And so, get into predictions. So you got 2 good teams and 2. You're going to do your predictions this week? Okay.
Oh, Jackie's in. Okay, Jack.
Okay.
We got 4 games. We got 4 games. We got Dallas. We got Buffalo. So, sorry, Dallas is in Dallas. Buffalo is in Buffalo. Home for the Islanders. Home for Winnipeg.
How many points out of 8? 8 total points. What are they going to get in those 4 games?
6.
I like it. Okay, who do we lose to, Jack?
Winnipeg.
Interesting. Okay. So I'm going to take. Listen, I like Jack's swagger. I like his confidence. I'm going to take 6 points as well, but I'm going to take our loss to Dallas. I feel like Winnipeg at home. We always play Winnipeg well at home, and I don't trust Connor Hellebuck in pressure games. So
I'm going to say 7.
Ooh, you got to be different.
I'm going to say you're going to lose your point to Dallas.
Fair.
They lose in overtime to Dallas. It's in Dallas. Dallas is a real.
Hey, listen, I'm not angry at 7 out of 8.
No. Oh yeah. I mean, I'd be happy with this kind of a trip. Honestly, let's face it. You can get through this Christmas time and all the noise that's around you. You can come out of this game with these 4 points. Let's go.
Right? Take the win. Take the win for sure.
But that's the luxury of having a good start and getting to a point where they are. You play a 500 stretch for 4 games. Really, you get 2 elite teams and you got 2 teams that are, they got to win hockey games.
Well, listen, I feel like, do you not feel? It was funny. Kara asked me this, and she said, "Dad, do you feel like we're in a better spot now than we've been in the last few years?" And I really feel like we are. And while I recognize that maybe we're higher in the standings and all that kind of good stuff, I feel better about where we are right now based on the way we've been playing and the way we've been winning. This to me is the best I have felt from a start of the season to Christmas in about 5 years. I'm thrilled. We've had some ups and downs and injuries, and we battled all that good stuff. But we're right there, and that makes me feel good. That's like I feel good where we are right now, Johnny. I'm okay.
Yeah, I do too. I really think this Mitch Marner stuff has to get sorted out. I really do. I think it's going to be a distraction. Wait till you're a month out of the deadline. He hasn't signed or committed that he's going to sign, or you start hearing news that they're not talking. Very, very concerning because he is an asset that at the deadline you can
Oh my God!
Can extend him. Could you get a good package? Yeah. So you gotta I'd be working on that right now pretty heavily. I think there's your deadline acquisition that you lock in now, and then you've got a lot more. So Maddie just answered another. What would you do if when you so he said yes would go? Might have had a stroke.
Probably
drinking.
Listen, I applaud the drinking, but if when he said okay, you should go,
I think the problem is she's been hanging out. You know what Maddie's been doing? Okay, and I'll say this on the air because it's true. She's been hanging out at Drake's private lounge in the Scotiabank Arena.
Listen, I heard tale, and Johnny, I don't know if it was true, but I heard tale that she may or may not have encountered the Trailer Park Boys
Yeah. I heard that too. Yeah.
You know what?
Hanging out with all the big dogs, her and Nolan. Yeah.
Listen, how is it that we seem to miss out on these things?
Yeah, I'm in bed at 9 o'clock listening to a true crime story podcast.
Anyways, listen, thank you to Don Cherry Sports Grill, Bjorn Hockey.
You're here, huh? Yeah.
Look at that. It looks good on you. It looks good on you, Jack. And by the way, special thanks to everybody who's watched us over the last couple years. We really appreciate it. We wish you and your family a wonderful holiday season. Merry Christmas if you celebrate. And at the end of the day, go Leafs go.
Yeah, it's the same thing from our families to yours. Be safe over the holidays and, enjoy it. Enjoy your family and watch some games and have some fun. But yeah, thanks to Bjorn, Don Cherries, and Merry Christmas. You got any final words there, big man?
Bye.
Hey, by the way, Jack, I just want to know how many goals you got this season?
9.
Got 9. Pretty good.
Sounds like a pretty good start to the season, buddy.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Night, folks.
Go Leafs, go.
Can't end it. You want to do it, Jack?
Jack, show your old man how to end this.
No, when it gets down there, you got to do it again. Technology.